Hi and welcome to Gamers Web. Here you will find news, reviews and other things related to games, gaming, cult film, cosplay and much more. Gamers Web is written by gamers for gamers. Now over to your host Mark.
Hi, welcome to Gamers Web. My name's Mark, and in this video I'm going to take a look at Star Trek Adventures Captain's Log, the solo role-playing game from Modiphius Entertainment. I've got a massive passion for Star Trek. It's been a massive influence in my entire life. Some of my earliest memories are sitting with my mum watching the first runs of Star Trek in '69 when it first came over to the UK, and really fond memories of it. Mainly my mum watched it because she thought that, in my mum's words, William Shatner was dishy. Okay, so this is a standalone game, standalone product, and what we get is a modified version of the core Star Trek Adventure rules that allows you to play the game solo. So let's just have a quick look. Okay, so boldly go where no one has gone before. It is the unknown that defines our existence. Commander Benjamin Sisko. The Captain's Log solo role-playing game presents a complete standalone rule system adapted from the award-winning Star Trek Adventures role-playing game. You can use to create original Star Trek stories with a dynamic character formed from your own imagination. Whether you are venturing into the cosmos alone, conducting the galaxy-spanning missions cooperatively with friends, or exploring the unknown with a games master, facilitating your adventures, use the contents of this book to generate countless hours of memorable adventures. Create an original character, and then use the tools in this book, combined with your fertile imagination, to fashion your own fascinating Star Trek-style stories. Play in any era of Star Trek, from the 21st century to the 32nd century, and everything in between. Explore strange new worlds, new civilizations, and all the wonders of the universe. What will you discover whilst exploring the final frontier? This book is a standalone product. Okay, right, so right off the bat, Star Trek, as I say, has been a massive influence on my life for the past, 51, almost 52 years since I first saw it. And I watched it in an original syndication run here in the UK back in 1969. And as I say, I used to watch it with my mum every week religiously. And it's been a huge influence. I've got a lot of time and respect for Star Trek because of the way it presents the future, that it's not bleak and it's not drab. That if any one thing you can take away from Star Trek more than anything else, the future's hope is the thing that you can take away. Now, solo role-playing games, there's quite a few on the market. There's also solo war games. Lots of games these days, even from Modiphius, have a solo aspect to them. As for solo role-playing games, I've been role-playing for 50 years and I've never really done any solo role-playing, with the exception of Ian Livingstone and Steve Jackson Fighting Fantasy books when they first came out, and the Joe Diva ones as well. And I found myself that I would often cheat when I was playing those games. If I got a result that I didn't like, or my character died, I'd just go back a couple of pages and retrace, and I didn't find that very good. I found that quite off-putting, to be honest. And I've been a storyteller for a long time. I'm predominantly a games master, although I do play games. I'm predominantly a games master, and I predominantly run games for other people, including professionally. And storytelling is something that I love to do. Now, solo role-playing gives us a whole new aspect on the role-playing hobby and how we approach it. So without further ado, because I'm still really a newbie to this, let's jump in. Okay, so the game's available with several different covers. Each game is identical, but there are several different covers. There's Discovery era, there's the Deep Space Nine era, which is this one. There's the next gen era, which is the other com badge, and then there's the classic era with the command shield on the logo. Sorry, in the middle of the delta. Okay, so let's have a look what we get. Okay, so opening splash, nice page filled with deltas on a blue background. Quite nice. Okay, so this game's been in production for a while. I think it was first talked about 5 years ago when Star Trek first came out. They were on about doing a solo rules, but it was just going to be an addendum to the core rules, and I think it's kind of grown from there. Okay, so we have our introduction, the definition of Star Trek Universe, reporting for duty, your home among the stars, rules of play, playing captain's log, how to play it, probability matrices, allies and adversaries, locations and starships, additional matrices, forms, and an index. Okay, so as you probably guessed by the word matrices, this uses matrices to actually help generate the progression of a narrative. A lot of the artwork in this book is taken from existing Modiphius products or other products like Ships of the Line and things like that, but it's all very, very good. Okay, so we've got our introduction, which is Space the Final Frontier. So this gives us a brief overview of what we can expect here. So we've got the Captain's Log provides all the information you need to understand the essentials of Star Trek setting, the tools you'll need to create a character, and the guidance to how you develop satisfying stories with that character, whether you play by yourself or with a group of friends. Now, straight off the bat, playing by yourself, it's a solo role-playing game, understand that, but playing with a group of friends with a much simplified version of Star Trek Adventures is big thumbs up for me, because to be honest, as much as I like the 2D20 system, a lot of my friends don't like it at all, and when we do play, it tends to be we play without as a diceless mechanic. I try and steer away from rolling dice as much as possible. I know some people don't like that, but I really do enjoy gaming without dice and pushing the limits of our imagination. So this is quite good. So chapter 1 basically tells us a primer on Star Trek, just in case you don't know. You've been living under a rock since 1966, and it tells the settings of the various iterations of Star Trek from the classic Star Trek, or the original series as Trekkies call it, right through to Lower Decks, because Lower Decks is featured in this as well. And I think Prodigy might be featured in it as well, I'm not exactly sure. Okay, so Star Trek Universe. It is aimed at new or casual fans who may not be familiar at all with the myriad details of the Star Trek universe and how they might apply specifically to a solo role-playing game. This chapter provides information on how the contents of the setting operate, how beings in the setting live and work, various eras of play available, as well as a number of styles you can use to set the tone of your stories you want to tell. And then we've got Reporting for Duty explains how to build your character. We've got Your Home in the Stars, which basically sets the background for where you're located, whether it be a starship or a space station, wherever your person lives, wherever your character lives. Rules of play. This is probably the most important part. This is explain how to use the different versions of play. So you've got cooperative play with a games master, guided play with fellow players and a games master serving as a narrator and guide, and of course solo play. Playing Captain's Log, which does exactly what it says, and it describes a 3-act structure, which is the way that television works, and film as well, to be honest. So you get a traditional 3-act structure, how to write your log entries, because the way the game plays as a solo game, it plays as a journals type game. You write down what's happening and what you're going to do, which for someone who's dyslexic, I don't know how I'm going to do that. I can do it on a computer, I guess, but we'll see to that when I actually come to play it. Our probability matrices provides you with the most essential random tables you'll ever need So you've got yes, no probability matrix, which is dead simple. You roll a die. Is it yes? Is it no? And then you've got other things such as like what colour of hair someone has, what's their alien race if it's random, lots and lots of really cool things like that that are ideal for GMs who are looking to expand Star Trek Adventures. Aliens and Adversaries, all the non-player characters from the Star Trek universes. So whether you're playing as a Federation human, or you're a Klingon warrior, or a Jemadar soldier, or a Breen, most of the details are covered in this. Locations and starships. Space is big, it's vast, it's split up into sectors. So you've got the sectors are then grouped together in quadrants. So you've got the Alpha Quadrant, Beta Quadrant, and the Delta and the Gamma Quadrants, all located within the Star Trek universe, and all are featured in different various iterations of Star Trek. And it gives you guides to actually using these locations, and then using your starship, you can even generate your own ship. Additional matrices which will help, random tables to help you flesh out your characters, an ongoing narrative, how to manage your character's downtime between missions, things like that. And then forms at the back. There's quite a few log entry forms which allow you to fill in the details, and then your actual character guide. Character sheet. How to use the guide. This tells you basically that this is predominantly aligned as an information book, and if we actually go to the back, the book's 300 odd pages long, and most of the first half of the book is literally a background on Star Trek. Again, we've got brilliant artwork that has featured in things before. So where to start? So we've got our eras of play. We've got Star Trek the animated series, the motion pictures, Next Generation, Deep Space Nine, Voyager, Enterprise, Discovery, Trek Shorts, Star Trek Picard, Lower Decks, Strange New Worlds, and Star Trek Voyager. They're all covered. Briefly giving you a little taster of what all of them are. I know we see some cadets. Well, they look like cadets because they look very young. They could be academy freshmen. And everybody's favourite great bird of the galaxy, the Enterprise. Okay, so Star Trek defined. What is Star Trek? And we now start the game properly. When we get to page 8, this gives you 10 facts about Star Trek. Star Trek is a science fiction setting. It presents positive, hopeful, and vibrant forecast. It's not a Brave New World where everything is dystopian. We live in a utopia style society. Money's been done away with on the whole. There's very little disease, very little poverty. We can cure most things, but that doesn't mean say it's an ideal place to live, because there are threats abroad and within that we'll come to see. Diversity, equality, and inclusion are paramount. Everyone is equal, and no more so than others. It doesn't matter whether you're black, white, Asian, Vulcan, Klingon, Romulan, half Vulcan, half Klingon, half Romulan, Breen. Doesn't matter what species you are, what race you are, what gender you are. It's all about equality and diversity. Character builds and nurture relationships. Some of the dynamics in Star Trek are perhaps some of the best dynamics in the entirety of televisions and media. There's a triarch of Kirk, Spock, and McCoy in the original series. They're three of the most instantly recognisable characters. Kirk is the leader, Spock is his right-hand man, McCoy is the voice of reason. McCoy and Spock are often at each other's, little loggerheads with each other, but I've got a deep and utmost respect for each other, although it doesn't always show. And Kirk, of course, is the linchpin between them both. This triarch of characters have been carried on to lots of other programmes. like Breaking Bad. So you've got Jesse and Walter White in Breaking Bad. Their chemistry is more or less the same. Peter and what's her name? My brain's gone. Olivia in Fringe. They've got the same kind of dynamic. And then you've got things like, you know, Radar and not Radar, sorry, Hawkeye and Trapper in MASH, things like that. This kind of very close friendship that sometimes they don't need to speak. You know exactly what the characters are thinking because of the way they're acting. So you nurture that character and build up relationships. Franchise focuses on character over plot. So, as I say, you know, there is a reason why Captain Kirk is so famous, why Mr. Spock is so famous, or Captain Picard's so famous. It's not just because of the actor's performance. It's the way the character's written and the actor's belief in the character, for want of a better word. Okay, that's over the story, because we do tune in to watch Star Trek for the story, but we also tune in to see what's developing in our characters' lives. Most characters live in a world of the United Federation of Planets, so you could play a Klingon or a Romulan, or a Breen, or a Borg, or a Cardassian. You know, that's not a problem, but most people will want to play in the UFP, which is the big federation of planets. Got like over 150 member planets of different species that make up its membership, and being a member of the Federation gives that planet a certain amount of protection and autonomy. Starfleet characters blaze the trail. If you see someone running away from a fire, a Starfleet character is normally going to be running the opposite direction. They're going to be running to the fire to help people. They put other people before they put themselves. Examines the human condition. So we examine what it means to be a human being, whether you're Michael Burnham, who's accused of treason, or you're Seven of Nine, who is trying to discover humanity after being a Borg drone for most of her life. Then you got Spock. He struggles with his humanity because he's half human, half Vulcan. Data is a construct, doesn't know what it's like to be human. He's got the Pinocchio syndrome, as is mentioned in Encounter at Farpoint. Odo, EMH, Neelix, Kess, Dr. Phlox, Commander Saru, all these characters have one thing in common. They're all alien in one way or another, whether they're actually a human person or they're a flesh and blood alien from another species. They all are alien to humanity, and what we see about them is what we see about ourselves. That's how we reveal about humanity. Okay, and Star Trek explores the wonders of the universe, which, you know, it's in the opening monologue, you know, like to seek out new life and new civilizations, boldly go where no one has gone before. And characters have fun along the way. Now, Star Trek is science fiction. Star Wars is science fantasy. There's a big distinct difference between them. Not that there's no fun in Star Wars. There is fun in Star Wars. But I think there's more humour and fun in Star Trek, especially over the past 10 years since Discovery came onto the television. It speaks for itself. You know, we get singing episodes of Strange New Worlds. We get crossover episodes where cartoon characters end up in the real world and become flesh and blood. Bizarre, but it's fun. And when all's said and done, it should be about entertainment and enjoying yourself. Okay, so what is Captain's Log? Okay, so just got to zoom out a little bit because my camera seems to be zoomed in far too much. There we go. Right. Okay, so the 10 aspects of Captain's Log. It's your ship, your crew, your adventures. You decide what's happening, which way it's happening, and how it's happening. Rules support every era. because the rules are simplified, you can start off playing the 22nd century and then go all the way up to the 32nd century or in between. And you can even play before those. You could play during the 1990s in the Bell Riots, which are featured in Deep Space Nine, or you could go even further back in time, because you know, time travel is theoretically possible and is possible in the Star Trek universe. So you can choose which era you want to play with. Streamlined rule set, focused on narrative. It's focused on telling the story rather than rolling the dice. Character creation via a life path. So you can take a life path. There's two different types of character creation. You can generate a character using dice rolls and filling out the bits and pieces, or you can use a life path. Life paths have been used in science fiction games for a long time. Some of them to very great success, some of them not so. The big one that springs to mind is Traveller, where you generate every aspect of your character before you even begin playing. And it was possible in the early editions of Traveller for your character to die before you even started playing. You could actually die before you began to play, which I always found really, really strange. There's a role for everyone, and I don't mean a dice roll. There's a role. Everyone has their place within the Star Trek universe. The greater good, you put others above yourself, and the common goal is knowledge and exploration rather than conflict. Limitless potential. Okay, so Star Trek characters encounter and solve problems ranging from the mundane to the incomprehensible and the easy to near impossible. From easy to near impossible. Anything can happen. Excuse me. From meeting an omnipotent being like Q or Trelane, or the Telosians, you know, these things that have powers of gods, to having a run-in with tribbles on a space station. Anything can happen, and it's how we progress with that. Opportunity for dramatic events. It's a drama. Basically, although Star Trek originally started off as a lot of individual stories, there were very few in the original series that kind of followed on from one another. The more you get into Star Trek, the more things connect, especially with Next Generation. So there's like a divergent breaking off point for Next Generation from the events of Tasha Yar being sent down to the planet and getting killed by Artemis, the Skin of Evil, in the first season of Star Trek Next Generation. That has a knock-on effect for the rest of the Next Generation's run. That one incident has a knock-on effect. The main thing about that is the fact that when you get to Yesterday's Enterprise, which is like probably one of the best pieces of fiction that's ever been written, and is up there as probably one of, if not the best episode of Star Trek ever, the decisions that Picard makes will then influence all of the Next Generation going forward, and then into the movies and into Deep Space Nine and its other series. Okay, so story-driven gameplay, which we've talked about. And then it's a safe space in which to explore. Sorry about that. I just had a spam phone call. I'm just going to put my phone on silent because the last thing we want is that to happen. Okay, right. So, safe place for you to explore. There's no right, there's no wrong. Just go and have fun. You know, like it says here, the Star Trek expresses the Vulcan term idic, which is infinite diversity and infinite combinations, where everyone is welcome and accepted and considered equal no matter their species, gender, identity, sexual preference, faith, practice, body shape, or other unique traits. Can't do that, actually. 2 thumbs up. That's one of the things that has always appealed to me about Star Trek. Okay, so Chapter 2, Star Trek Universe. This I'm just going to skim through because there's so much here. Okay, so we've got the society. Again, we've got idic, infinite diversity, infinite combinations, which is the core philosophy of the actual Vulcan people. Cultures, future of hope, and then Federation, citizens, and money. By the time we get to the 23rd century, money is obsolete. We don't need it. Though some people still amass wealth, because wealth and money are two different things. Okay, so you got religion and spirituality. So in Star Trek, it was very secular franchise, sometimes dismissing religion as superstition and speaking of it as if it was something that a culture evolves beyond. That said, Star Trek also embraces religion in some episodes, as in the original series, with Captain Kirk officiating over a wedding. You know, that kind of thing happens. Then in Deep Space Nine, we find out the Bajoran people were, the Bajorans are very devout to their faith and the worship of the prophets. And Benjamin Sisko, who has to strike a balance between being a Starfleet officer and in command of Deep Space Nine to being the emissary of the prophets and basically a messiah-like figure to the Bajorans. Enterprise suggested that faith existed in the 22nd century, and Captain Pike's upbringing, as it says here, indicated a study of religion alongside science. So the way we go. Economy. People don't really get paid. You on a spaceship, you don't get paid, but you do. I'm sorry. Things chime in. He's making me lose my track of thought. You don't get paid because money is obsolete, but you don't suffer. You don't want for things. Okay, how to write star dates, behind the scenes star dates. Star dates are something that is pretty strange to work out. It depends on your spatial location and where you are in the universe at any given time for a star date. And then it changed. And then it went from a 5 to a 6 to a 4 to an 8 and back again. Crazy. Star date is basically just when your episode's set or what a particular event happened. Primer on Star Trek technology. Okay, so we know that things in Star Trek have influenced our future. So mobile phones are basically communicators. You have got a tricorder of sorts in your hand with your mobile phone because it can access a wealth of information via the internet. It can tell you you can put a wristwatch on, will tell you your body temperature and your breathing rests and your heartbeat, all your pulsometers, all that kind of stuff. Tell you if you're not getting enough exercise, tell you to stand up and walk around. This is the kind of stuff that was predicted back in 1966. And whether it's come true or not, but because of Star Trek, but a lot of people who work in industries that deal with things like microtechnology and what have you have been influenced by Star Trek, and it shows. Okay, so gadgets and gears. Instruments register only those things they designed to register. Space still contains infinite unknowns. Lieutenant Commander Spock. Okay, cloaking device. Renders your vessel invisible. It's banned by the Federation under the Treaty of Algernon. Communications. Space is big. Space is vast. Communications are done at light speed. But even so, communications in Star Trek always appear to be instantaneous, rather than taking, probably a week to get to command if they're in the Gamma Quadrant. So obviously some places they can't actually communicate because, like when Voyager was trapped in the Delta Quadrant, it couldn't communicate with anyone because it was so far away. Language and the Universal Translator. For want of a better word, everybody speaks English. So they don't actually, in Star Trek, all the races have their own independent language, but there is a thing called the Universal Translator, which was introduced in Enterprise and then kind of perfected and now is commonplace. It's in all the comm badges from Next Gen onwards. It's in the communicators from Star Trek onwards. And occasionally you will get someone like Damok in the episode Damok, who speaks in metaphors. So although they are speaking in English, it's very difficult to understand what they're saying. Okay, hologram technology. We have now got sentient holograms, such as the EMH or Joe. Propulsion. We've got different types of propulsion. Impulse drive allows you to get somewhere quite quickly. Then we've got warp drive, and then we've got slipstream technology, transwarp technology, all these kind of things. And then we have one of our first matrices here, which is era-specific terminology translator. So in Enterprise, a communicator is called a communicator. In Star Trek, it's called a communicator, and in Star Trek Next Generation, it's called a comm badge because it's gone into a badge. A grappler in Enterprise, tractor beam in Next Gen and Star Trek, hand scanner in Enterprise, tricorder in Next Gen, and it goes on and on. Sensors, ship can pick up lots and lots of information from vast distances away, whether it's telling the composition of a planet or the tectonic activity on a specific planet or a moon, or the fact that the vessel coming towards you with its gun ports opening is going to attack you or not. Shuttlecraft, sometimes you can't beam down to a planet using the transporters because it's too dangerous. You have to use a shuttlecraft, and they basically take you from place to place. Tractor beams lock onto something, drag it back, or use it as a repulsor beam by reversing the polarity of it. Shields, deflector shields or deflectors or shields. They're stop your vessel from being destroyed from the first hit. Early starships had ablative armor rather than shields. Time travel, as I mentioned, time travel does exist. You can go back and hopefully not do Fry from Futurama and become your own grandfather. Weaponry, so you got hand weapons, such as phasers, and then other kind of hand weapons such as the Klingon Bat'leth and Matok and all those kind of things, Breen disruptors and what have you, energy weapons, ship's weapons, transporter systems, which we say because you transport people and goods from one place to another, replicators. By the time we get to Star Trek Next Generation, we have food replicators which turn they produce matter from literally nothing. They've got lots of raw materials that are stored in databanks, and from those raw materials they produce something as well, a glass of water, for example. It's also a good way to get things done when you're the creator of a show and you need to do something very quickly. You can replicate it. So it's a bit of a MacGuffin. So you got transporter and replicator era notes. So original series and Enterprise era, then up to Next Gen, transporters are ubiquitous, replicators are new. 32nd century, it's kind of so advanced by 3100s that you can replicate full starships, and ships don't have to actually be physically joined the hip, so to speak. They can work slightly differently. Okay, fine out to Technobabble. Technobabble is basically the gobbledygook that they speak on Star Trek to, like, I can't do it because the dilithium chambers matrices isn't compatible with this crystal. That doesn't sound too bad, but you've got some example words here like algorithm, compression, cybernetic, encryption, interface, matrix, model, network, neural, positronic, processor, subroutine. All commonplace words in the lexicon of life and science, but when used in Star Trek, they take on a completely different aspect. Service protocols, what it's like working in Starfleet. So standard operations, what we do on our vessels when entering a new system. Do we have a light away team or a landing party? They follow the Prime Directive, which they have to do. Yellow alert, red alert. And if you go for Discovery era, for Discovery, black alert. Emergency evacuation or medical emergencies. Security alerts. Orbital types. So all these things are just basically given to give us a more grounded approach to Star Trek, for want of a better word. And then we've got nautical lexicon here for, so you're like captain on bridge, formal waving announcing the commanding officer has arrived. They can also mean that it could be a flag officer, like an admiral on the bridge. Although if an admiral takes over the command of a vessel, or an ensign takes over the command of a vessel, that person is then called captain, regardless of rank. That goes via the naval approach. And then we're on page 45. Okay, so the Prime Directive, which is the General Order 1, became Prime Directive. It's that you can't interfere in another race's development because that race should be able to develop on its own. Once it develops warp technology, then we can make a first contact situation. So you must try and avoid first contact unless you can't really help it. It's been broken all the time. Janeway used to break it constantly, so did Kirk. Okay, so eras of play, foundational years, so 2063 to 2199. So this is going from First Contact, which is when Zephyr and Cochrane and Lily first encountered the Vulcans, when the Enterprise went back in time and tried to stop the Borg, all the way up to the founding of the Federation via the joining of the Tellarites, the Vulcans, the Andorians, and the humans. Okay, so coalition of Federation, Federation and Empire. So this is so the first era is more or less Enterprise, and this era is Federation and Empire 2200 to 2299. So this covers the animated series, first two seasons of Star Trek, the original series, Discovery, and Star Trek Strange New Worlds as well. And it puts in some of the motion pictures as well. So you got to talk about the war, the 5-year missions of the Constitution class ships, such as the Enterprise, Allies and Adversaries, which is Star Trek Next Generation, Deep Space Nine, and Voyager, and all of the Star Trek motion pictures all go in the Allies and Adversaries, because there was some of the biggest wars took place during those things, such as the Dominion War, which was the biggest war that the universe has ever seen. Post-war Reconstruction, so this includes Star Trek Lower Decks and Picard. And then finally we go to got Temple Cold War, which has been mentioned from Enterprise, and then 32nd Century, which is far in the future, which is the last couple of seasons so far of Star Trek Discovery. Okay, so styles of play. You've got different kinds of campaigns, styles for your playing. Select a style of play. There are a variety of adventures and campaign styles you can select from to use as foundation for your game. Adventure is to be had whether it's serving for the deep interior of your territory, along the borders, or exploring a space far from home. This section details the most common styles of play which Captain's Log stories can be built. Okay, so Admiralty campaigns, you are being put in command of more than one thing. So whether you're, it says here, like Starfleet Admiral or Klingon Defence Force, you are in charge of a set of vessels or a quadrant or whatever. And it's have a situation room, what goes on. Adventures worthy of silver screen, cinematic style campaigns, which are the best way to play. Off-screen character advancement. Okay, seasonal long story arcs, such as Michael Burnham's story arcs in Discovery, or Picard's story arc in seasons 1, 2 and 3 of Picard. close to home, political campaigns. Sometimes Star Trek has its own political agendas, and more often than not, Deep Space Nine tended to be very political because there was all the political ramifications and behind the scenes shenanigans going on with the Bajorans and the Cardassians. It was all politics and religion. Deep space exploration, scientific scientific missions, tactical missions, non-Starfleet missions. Got more guidance on it, and then I just move that out of the way. And then far from home games, so you're lost in space, lost in time, or another reality. So Lost in Space would be the USS Voyager. Lost in Time would be the USS Bozeman. Spice of Life's games, Adventures Spice of Life. So you've got diplomatic missions, protection and security, science missions, guidance for Spice of Life's games. And then station-based games like Deep Space Nine, Tough Little Ship, which is the USS Defiant, obviously. Okay, and unsanctioned missions. This is going under the books and not really what we talk about. Okay, so that's a little bit of the background for the universes of Star Trek. Now we get to reporting for duty. So we've got a career in Starfleet, life path creation, creation in play, character development, and character conversation. Right, so creating your character, what you need, how you prepare for duty, and much more. Attributes. Okay, so your character has 6 attributes, which are control, daring, fitness, insight, presence, and reason. And they range between 7 and 12. 8 is about average, sometimes 9, because you can get racial bonuses, tend to be just slightly above average. 7 is bare minimum. 12 is, master with what you do. You like, so you have fitness at 12, you're peak of physical fitness. So control defines characters who are precise, orderly, disciplined, highly coordinated, and possess well-developed fine motor skills. Daring is your decisiveness and fearlessness. When the adrenaline starts pumping, a daring character can act swift and confidently. Fitness speaks for itself. Insight is how you are at sensing the moods of others and feelings like empathy. And then we've got our ranks and ratings, so 7 or less to 11 to 12, because nothing can go above 12. Going back to my thing about fitness, if you've got 12 fitness, you're a prime example of physical conditioning with plenty of practical understanding for how to employ your strength, speed and endurance to its best effect. But 7 or less, you're just declined to rely on strength to solve your problems and maybe somewhat unfit. Okay, so then we've got disciplines. As well as your attributes, you also have 6 disciplines, which are command, con, engineering, security, science and medicine. And that's where you basically get your skills from. And I'm not going to go over those just at the moment. And then we go into our random matrices tables that allow you to generate your specific focuses on each of the things. Values. The simple example here of value is I want to be the best captain, or I put my life before the life of my crew, right, which is not really a good value. Everything can be solved with diplomacy. Those are quick examples. Life path creation, you choose a species, and there are lots of species, and then we've got this here. So you start off with 7 attributes points and one of each discipline. You've got your species with 1 to 3 attributes. Environmental conditions or setting, early outlook, upbringing, caste or aspiration, education, Starfleet, academy or other training, career length, career events, finishing touches, check and adjust that you haven't gone over the maximum for each stat and discipline. And then you've got species that you can choose. You could choose your species or you could roll randomly. So if you wanted to go for an Enterprise era and you chose 11, you'd be a Remen. Or you could be like a Floxon, which is... Oh, it's not actually... Sorry, Denobulan. Sorry, not Floxon, because Flox is Flox's name. Then original species. As you notice as you look through, you don't see Denobulans appearing much after. In fact, they don't appear at all after the Enterprise era, I think. Okay, so you've got a brief thing about your various races, so like Bajorans, highly spiritual. They get +1 control, +1 daring, +1 insight. Benzites, +1 control, +1 insight, +1 reason. You know, so all the races have their own various things. So here we've got Borg. So yes, you could play a Borg. I know. Yeah, the Borg liberated, +1 control, +1 fitness, +1 reason. So that's a liberated Borg. And then we go along Ocampa, Pakled, Orion, lots and lots of races. Saurian, Romulan, Talaxian, Tamaran, Terralite, Tholian. You know, all these different wonderful races that appeared in the past 50 odd years of Star Trek. Okay, so settings for your home world, generate your home world and what kind of it's like. Your outlook, where you were brought up, from Starfleet to diplomacy and politics. And then each of those is expanded, including artistic and creative. Castes, some species have castes, like the Bajorans have castes, the Klingons have castes, depending on where you live, depends what you do. Okay, so you got warrior, merchant, agriculture, scientific, artistic, academic. I'll pick and re-roll. Aspirations, what are your goals and dreams? Education, where and how were you educated? Starfleet Academy training, are you a Starfleet officer? Are you a Klingon officer? You know, allied military training, diplomatic training, law enforcement, civilian training, career events, your length of your career. Are you a veteran? Did your career get cut short due to a war starting or whatever? And then things that affect your life, such as like the death of a friend, or you help negotiate a treaty, or you've had an encounter with a truly alien being like Q or something like that. And these go on, give you finishing touches to round out your character, and then your assignment. Now, it's assumed that you are probably playing as the captain when you're actually generating your character. There is nothing saying that you don't have to play as a captain. You could play as an ensign quite easily, or a cadet on a shakedown cruise. It's just your own interpretation of how you want to do things. Okay, and then you're posting where you're going to be. You're like a science officer, a chief of security, chief medical officer, ship's counselor, that kind of thing. Then creation and play. This is the other way of generating your character. You generate your character as you play. You've got your bare bones, and as your character goes along, you then do it. So you basically I'm going to be a Bolian captain, or I'm going to be a Bolian science officer, and that's just the brief thing, a Bolian science officer, and you build it up from the ground upwards whilst you're playing the game. Character development, character conversion. So this allows you to swap between Strange New Star Trek Adventures and Captain's Log. Allows you to swap between them. To be honest, I think given the amount of wealth of information in this game, a lot of people just go and ditch this core rulebook and use this because it's got so much stuff in it. Okay, you're home among the stars. Right, so this is, I'm just going to skim through this because this video is getting very long. It's on 49 minutes already. Wow. Okay, so you select your starship and you roll for what year, what class it is, and then there's generating random starships. So you Intrepid, J class, NX class, Warp Delta class, Antares, Archer, Cardanis, Constellation, Constitution, Crossfield class, Engel class, Excelsior class, Hiawatha class. These are just the Federation ships, of course. Oberth, Nimitz, Soyuz class, Sydney class, War class. Then we go to the generations, so we've got things like Akira, Steamrunner, Defiant, Ambassador, all those kind of things, Galaxy, Sovereign, Intrepid, all these different kinds of class of ships. Springfield class, Picard era, Gagarin class, Odyssey, Pathfinder. These are all really cool. And then we get to some like one-off things that have appeared in episodes like the Prometheus. Lots and lots. Discovery era. So you've got a Janeway class, a Kirk class, an Eisenberg class, Friendship class, lots and lots of ships. Choosing your ship talents, cloaking devices and politics, lots of stuff. So how to create a starbase or state station, rules of play. You know, before you start the game, you should create a character and your ship, select your mission type, generate an incidental theme, advantages and complications, and roll an encounter. And then now we start getting into all the matrices of the game and how things go. So see about the probability matrices, and it tells you how to use them. We're using the momentum and threat, which we just discussed here on page 192 for the first time, which are very, very important things in the game. Momentum allows you to do things like add an advantage to your tasks if you roll a number of successes, and you can use it to eliminate a threat. Threat makes things more complex. That's just the easiest way of saying it. Values, directives and focuses, how to take actions, personal actions, group actions, that kind of things. Combat on page 203, we're a long way through, we've just discovered combat. And then extended conflict, how to use your ship in gameplay, and all the actions you can do with your ship. Modes of play, why play solo, and then detail about solo role playing. Collaborative storytelling. Yeah, I'm the captain, so I order everybody around, right? Nah, not really. Command structure, how things work on ships. Learning to read the room if you're actually playing with your friends or what have you. It can be beneficial if you're playing online. So this is basically just aimed at people who are playing with other people. Transporting your character, and then playing Captain's Log, which starts on page 225 and goes up to page 251. So this is basically how to get the best out of your characters when you're playing the game. And now we get introduced to a 3-act structure. So cold opens, you could open the act with something going on that the characters are unaware of. I don't know if that would work with a solo role-playing game because you're the one who's generating it. First showing of lower decks characters. They're not actually lower deck characters, but they're done in the style of lower decks. And then constructing a universe, building your scenes up. Why don't non-player characters and enemy ships have statistics? Well, they sort of do. And then how to write a captain's log, which is very important. Chronicling your stories. Very, very good. Storytelling devices. You know, how to flesh out your stories. Scene transitions, cutaway scenes, flashbacks, that kind of stuff. And a fantastic finale, how to end your sessions. And then we have our closing advice here. Final preparations. Posterity, roll or don't roll a worthy adversary. And then cooperation means cooperative means cooperation, and resolving disagreements and oppose challenges. And then we come to the last part of the book, which is the probability matrices. As you see when you look at this, it tells you how to do things, generate your mission types, and then you've got all your different mission types here. Aid and relief. So aid and relief is the first one, and the second one is conspiracy. So we've got conspiracy. So all of these have, you roll one die and then you roll another die to consult it. And there's lots and lots and lots of them, and they're ideal just for generating plot hooks for role-playing. Themes of advantages and complications. You know, there's been an incident, command, and there's an energy being. So there's an incident with an energy being, and then advantages and complications. A lucky circumstance, an earlier failure has unattained positive side effects. Unintentional positive side effects. Counters probability matrix. Tells you what kind of a counter it is, what kind of planet it's on, is it a spaceship, is it inhabited, is it not. Momentum and threat spends, what you can spend your momentum and your threat on. And then allies and adversaries. So how to generate conflict with your non-player characters and player characters. So you've got all the different outlooks for the different things: carbon-less life forms, exotic life forms, incorporeal forms, beasts of the galaxy creation, the size of them, what kind of creatures they are, space entities, and then locations and starships. So what kind of class of ship are we, world are we on? So is it a class M or Muchara class, which is an Earth type thing, or is it class K, which is like a death planet or hell world? And all sorts of things about religion, science, politics, location by theme. And these go on and on and on all the way to the end of the book. And then we've got our forms. And our forms are, you've got your captain's log sheet with all your disciplines and things. That's an example one. So your captain's log and your starship or space station. Missions, you can put these into your things, what happened, how you developed, what your values were, plus and minuses, and log entries. And then at the back of the book we've got our index and advertisements for Star Trek Adventures products. Okay, so sorry that was so long, but it's a very in-depth book and well worth picking up. If you like Star Trek or you want to try a new role-playing game, I highly recommend picking this up. I've not played a role-playing game solo before, apart from, as I said earlier, the fighting fantasy books back in the 80s and 90s when they first came out. But I'm very looking forward to actually generating this, and I'm going to try and do some videos on it if I can. Right, so that concludes my quick look of just short of an hour on Star Trek Adventures, Captain's Log Solo Roleplaying Game from Modiphius Entertainment. It's available now. I really wouldn't be surprised if this wins an Emmy at the Emmy Awards next year, because it's well laid out, it's well thought out, and I don't think I've seen a role-playing game so in depth in a long time. So as always, I've been Mark. Thank you for tuning in and putting up with my idiosyncrasies, and if you made it this far, thank you very much. No matter where you are in the world, please stay safe and look after yourself, and we'll hopefully see you again here on Gamers Web. Live long and prosper.